Welcome back and welcome to another tag video. It has been a while since I brought you a tag video, but you know I love doing tags, and I saw this tag over on Bethany's channel, so I will link her video below in the description box, and I will also link the original video below as well. This is the book addiction tag, or book addict tag, and yeah, she made it look really fun. I love a tag. Let's go for it. Question 1. What is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? If you have seen my Contemporary Thumb reading vlog, you will know that weekend I barely did any reading. I have just been on a trip to New York with my mum, and that doesn't allow for an awful lot of reading time. There's reading time on the plane there, reading time on the plane back. Not an awful lot of reading time whilst I'm there hanging out with her and being all over the place. So I can go for a decent amount of time without reading if it's special circumstances. However, on a weekday, on a regular week, I will pick something up and read something every day, even if it's just a little bit of audiobook on my commute. That used to be the only reading time I had at one point. My job just meant that I didn't have any time for reading outside of my commute, which could be anywhere between 20 minutes and 2 hours. So sometimes I would just literally read that 40 minutes, and that's one of the reasons I started listening to audiobooks on double speed as well. So yeah, I can go for a decent amount of time if I'm doing something else, but in my regular day-to-day life, I will read something every day. Question 2, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device, at any one time? So I looked at this, and I looked up my Kindle, and I looked at how many books were on here and how many books I have on my phone in audio form as well. So on my Kindle I have about 750 books, which is amazing that I could just carry this one thing around and have this many books on here. I then looked at how many books I have borrowed from the library on audio, which as I'm filming this is 8. I have 4 from Hoopla and 4 on Overdrive. I then also looked at my Audible library, and this includes read books as well, but you know I'm a bit of a rereader anyway, so especially on my Audible I have quite a few Page Tune books which I have already read, and I'm currently rereading on my Page Tune read along, but on my Audible, was shocked by this, I've got about 250 books on there. Now I have had an Audible account for a long time. I think I've had an Audible account since before I even started book blogging, so I've probably had it for like 10 years. So that's built up over time, and I do take advantage of sales and things like that. So I've got 750 plus 250, that's 1,000, plus the 8 I have from the library at the minute, so those. And then I tend to most of the time have a physical book on the go as well. I haven't been carrying that around with me the last couple of weeks, but if I've got a bigger bag, generally I'll have that. The other day I went and picked up holds from the library, so I had 3 books on me that were in the car with me all day. So it just depends what I'm doing, whether I have a physical book on me as well. Sometimes those stay at home, sometimes not. I'll always take backup reading when I'm on the aforementioned plane journeys, so I've got something if my headphones run out or my audiobook hasn't downloaded properly. I've always got like backup of Kindle book, and then I've got Kindle on my phone. I always make sure I've got some downloaded on there. You know, nobody wants to be caught somewhere without a book. Question 3 is, do you keep every book you buy or receive, or are you happy to pass them on and make space for more? No, I don't keep every book I buy or receive. I regularly have like big book clear outs where I'll fill quite a few bags and take them down to, I tend to take mine to Second & Charles so I can swap them for either cash or store credit there. They have quite a lot of nice gifty things, so when it comes to like birthdays and Christmas and stuff, my books can mean that somebody gets a really cool bookish present from Second & Charles. Then proof copies I tend to pass on to people. I generally know someone who will want them, and I take them to my book group once a month as well. And then, so once I finished a book, unless it's a signed copy or like one of these special editions I have over here, my special Wonder edition, my special edition of Fault in Our Stars, or like it's a collection like I've got right here, I tend to get rid of that as well. So on a monthly basis, after I film my monthly wrap up for you, unless it's a signed edition, I'm not keeping it. And I've always been that way. It's not just the way I am now. I've got more books now than I ever had before, just because I'm reading more every month. But I used to have kind of just like one of these single shelves, basically just like one all the way up and down. And I found a picture the other day of my signed book collection that I had when I first started blogging, and I literally had like 8 books, and now my whole top row of my bookshelves are signed. So anyway, I digress from that question. It's chatty video. How long would you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? Again, this very much depends. I haven't been in a bookshop in a while. You know, I'll browse the books in Target, but I haven't been inside like Tattered Cover here in Denver or Barnes & Noble or anything like that. However, on my trip to New York, I know that a whole afternoon was penciled out for spending in Strand and other book shopping. And then when I go back to the UK, I know that I will spend a decent amount of time looking in Waterstones and other bookshops that I regularly visit around the UK. I have certain bookshops in certain cities that I try and go and visit when I'm back. And if I've not been in a UK bookshop for a while, that first visit will probably be a good 20 minutes, half hour. If I'm on my own in Waterstones, Piccadilly, you know, I'm there for a decent amount of time. Plus, you go up to the 5th floor, you can have a cocktail while you're there. Yeah, carved out a whole afternoon to visit Strand. But if I'm going to Barnes & Noble here or Tattered Cover here, it's probably only like 10-15 minutes. Bethany pointed out in her video that we are kind of so aware of the new books that are coming out and the kind of release dates of them. We know what's going to be on the shelves. That's why when I've gone somewhere where they have a bigger collection of like second-hand books or signed copies or UK editions, then I'll spend more time because I won't be as aware of what's going to be on those shelves. So yes, very much context dependent, that one. Question 5, how much time per day do you actually spend reading? As I've mentioned, I went through a period of time where it would literally be just those audiobooks that I was listening to in the car on the way to work and back. Occasionally I might be able to carve out like a Sunday morning reading time, but most of my weekend was also working, doing chores, doing shopping, going places, sleeping. So I didn't spend an awful lot of time. So sort of, yeah, an hour would probably be the average minimum that I would spend reading. But the other day I was reading the new Millie Johnson book, and I spent the majority of the day reading that book. I was out during the day, but in the evening from like 7 or 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. I was reading that book. So that day I probably spent 8 hours reading. I've done 24-hour readathons before where I've got very little sleep and just done reading. I'll be listening to an audiobook while I'm in the car, while I'm in the gym, while I'm doing chores around the house. If I've got sort of admin-y bits to do on the laptop, not necessarily writing reviews or editing videos, but other sort of admin-y things to do, I'll be listening to an audiobook. If I'm waiting in a waiting room, I'll have my book or ebook with me. When I'm having lunch on my own, when I'm having breakfast on my own, when I'm having dinner on my own, when I'm having a cup of coffee on my own, I'll be reading a book. The other day I was really early for a film at the cinema, so I had worked out that I had like 40 minutes to read a book because they've got a bench outside the screen, so I could listen, and when the trailers were coming to a close, I went and took my seat. That gave me a good 40-minute reading chunk. It was excellent. So it very much varies, but minimum I would say it'd be an hour. Then where does the task picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? I get into the habit of reading over breakfast and then I fall out of it again. I get into it during a readathon and kind of keep it up for a week or maybe more after the readathon, and then I fall out of it again, and then another readathon rolls around and I get into the habit of picking up a book over breakfast. I will then, once I've dropped Ollie at work, be in the car listening to a book, so you know, that's morning reading time. I've been trying again. I get into the habit of it when I'm doing a readathon, reading before I go to bed. Sometimes that's in physical book form, sometimes that's in audiobook form, sometimes it's a combo. Generally, when I'm in the gym, which is on an almost daily basis, I'll be listening to a book. And then I have times where I've like set aside, okay, I've got 2 hours before I need to pick Ollie up from work and I'm not doing anything right now, I'm going to be reading. Or I really want to read this book, I'm going to sit and do it. I've got a lot of reading vlogs on here and they all look quite different. So yeah, in terms of my daily to-do list, reading generally appears at either end of the day, and then anything that's in the middle of the day is a bonus. I think that's probably quite a good way to look at it. Question 7, how many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? So I checked this one, and yes, as I say, I've got 750 on here. I averaged out how many books were in each of these cubes. Most of the cubes are somewhat double stacked. Some of them are just single stacked and some of them are part double stacked. So I reckon that this added up to about 700. So that's 1450. Then I said I had about 250 ebooks on Audible, so that brings us up to like 1700. And then you have, I mean, those are the ones that I own. Then you have to go into, well, I've probably got 10 books checked out from the library in physical form. I've probably got 10 books checked out of the library in some sort of digital form. You know, that I don't own them right now, but right now I have access to read them, and obviously I'm in the library on a very regular basis with access to all the books the library has. So yeah, I have a lot of access to books, and yeah, but like I say, I have quite a high turnover, which I'm quite proud of. Approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? Yes, a lot. I would say a lot. I will talk to friends and family about books that I'm reading or books that I've just finished, whether I'm enjoying them or not. I, as I say, spend a lot of time at the library, volunteering or being there as a patron, and so I chat with people that I volunteer with or chat with on a regular basis. This past week we had book club, so I spent 2 hours talking books at book club. It comes up a lot. My trivia team knows that I enjoy books, and so we chat books there. Yeah, it comes up quite a lot. A lot, yeah. Just, that's my answer to that one. What is the biggest book page count you have finished reading? I am pretty sure that it's a book that I read very, very recently. However, I have to check because I've got this Bill Bryson book here. Let me check the page count on this one. Bear with me. Okay, so I really thought that it was this one because this is such a chunky book. Waterton sticker on the front. I should take these off. But this one is only 480 pages. It's shy of 500 pages. I know that I've read a couple of bonk busters that are generally over 500 pages. However, if you've seen any of my recent videos, you'll have seen that I'm just reading long books in the month of February. I definitely want to include page count in my wrap up if I haven't already. I'm not sure what order this is going to be in, but no, this is going to come before the wrap up. I'm definitely going to include a page count because I read the new Marion Keyes novel and it's 562 pages. I haven't seen a physical version of it. I had an ebook version of it, but then I bought the audiobook. I pre-ordered it, and so I did it on audio, and it's long. And so I think that might be the record right now. I feel like the year before, so not 2019 but 2018, the longest book I read, you know, Goodreads tells you that, was the Marion Keyes The Break. It was quite a long book as well. So yeah, one of the most recent books I finished has been a super long book. I also listened to Julie Andrews' Homework. It was long. I read The Gifted School. It was long. I read a couple of 400-page books, which I don't tend to find that I'm picking up a lot of long books back to back, but I picked the shortest month to do it in, so there we go. Next question. Is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds? Search bookstores, online digging, stalk the author, etc. I'm really lucky that, you know, I have access to books in 2 different markets here. I can quite easily get my hands on UK or US editions of books. So I wouldn't say that I kind of stalked a lot for them. These here, the US editions of Anna and the French Kiss and Lola and the Boy Next Door. I was really excited when I found those versions of them in Waterstones Piccadilly, the aforementioned, because they're the US versions of them, and I was, you know, thinking about getting them on the internet, sent over somehow. The internet, some sort of book site. They weren't on regular Amazon at the time, but I was excited to get those. And then I have multiple versions of You, Me, Everything by Catherine Isaac. I have the UK proof copy hardback and paperback, and I have the US proof copy and hardback, and I begged the US proof copy from my friend, my librarian friend, who lovely was very lovely and gave me her proof copy, and so I kind of formed a collection of those, and then I've seen kind of special editions of things, but I've not gone hunting for anything. I do have this version of How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran that I saw. Did I see it at Strand and didn't buy it, and then went back for it? But it's part of the Olive editions, Harper Perennial Olive editions. So they all have these striped spines, but this is obviously non-fiction, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. I'd seen it, I didn't buy it for some reason, or I'd seen it at Tattered Cover and didn't buy it, and then looked in Strand, and they said online that they had a copy of it, but then when I was actually there, which was the first time I met Bethany, I'd been there and been around before her and Jess came, and they said they had it online, and I got them to look it up, and they said, oh yeah, it says we've got a copy, but we couldn't find it anywhere. So then when I went back like 6 months later, I managed to find it. So this was kind of a hunted for edition, and also it was half price, whereas the first time I saw it, it wasn't half price. So this kind of a special edition that I searched around for. But yeah, I'm always very happy to get early copies of things that I'm excited to get. I stood in a very long line to get my copy of Mrs. Everything signed by Jennifer. Where is it? It's up here somewhere. Oh my goodness, her second name, Weiner. Jennifer Weiner. I could not remember her second name then. There's so many books with that, so many authors with that first name. I'm losing the plot now. Yeah, I stood in line for a very long time at Book Expo to get that signed. And then there was some other ones that I was very excited to get signed, but nothing that I've gone crazy for. Is there a book you struggled to finish because you refused to DNF? Kind of struggled with the new Marion Keyes. I absolutely love Marion Keyes. I've met her, she's amazing, her books are amazing. I've been a long-term fan. I read her first one the summer after I finished secondary school, so I was 18, so that was 2003. And I've been such a long-term fan of hers, but I really didn't gel with this new one. And if you like an epic family saga, it's definitely one for you. If you like a slow-paced family saga at 562 pages, it's definitely one for you, and it will appeal to many people out there. It just didn't appeal to me. And I considered DNFing it, and I was like, no, it's Marion Keyes. It's Marion Keyes. And also, you've been sent this for review, and then you bought the audiobook. You should finish this. It's Marion Keyes. You love her. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle to finish. Yeah, but I didn't DNF it, and I did finish it, and then I felt like I could write an honest review. As I say, if you love books like that, then you will like this one. It's got some of Marion Keyes' wittiness in it, but it just didn't gel with me. I found it a real struggle. What are 3 of some of your main book goals for 2019 or 2020 if you started planning? So main book goals for 2020, I have some that I'm very excited about that I mentioned in my 2020 anticipated release arcs. I already have a video. I also have undertaken my big page tune read along, so that's a big goal for me. And I really want to get more on top of reviews, and I feel like I get on top of them and then I fall behind again, and I get on top of them and then I fall behind again. Basically, I'm trying to make sure that I have a decent review writing session at least once a week. I'll generally, if it's a book that I have for review off of NetGalley, will review it as soon as I'm done. So the ones that are on NetGalley are kind of reviewed quickly and ready for publication date. But I'm trying to make sure that I have a session a week, and what I'll do is I'll take myself to the library and sit at one of their computers, because they've got the better computer desks, and sit and do it there. Their computers run quicker than mine does. Mine's very old, and that really helps me, having that time specifically carved out to updating my reviews, my top 10 Tuesdays, my other posts that I have on the blog, my page on my blog that says books read, videos on here, so yeah, those 3 goals, those books that I really want to read, my page tune read along, which I'm really enjoying, and being better at writing my reviews in a timely manner. But if I have a week where I've read 7 books, and then the next week I go and sit and have my afternoon of review writing at the library, I don't necessarily get all 7 books read and update my pages and update on my top 10 Tuesdays and put in other things on the blog. So it's really hard. If I have a big reading week, then I can't catch up, and then I get behind. Anyway. Have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader by inspiration or your incessant nagging? I am a teacher, so the answer to this is very much yes. And the children who have become readers because of me, it's probably a combination of the two. I would like to hope that it's all inspiration, but it's probably just me banging on about all the books I'm enjoying reading an awful lot. I know one person that I used to teach that watches my videos occasionally on here has very kindly said to me that they are a reader because of me, and I just really love that. And so I am in the lucky position that the answer to this question is definitely yes. And yeah, even from the very first class that I had, that first parents' evening, they were like, oh, they don't normally like reading books, but you know, brought your class library in and they're very excited to read the books, and is it okay that they're reading your books at home? And I'm like, yes, they're reading, this is amazing. In terms of adults that I've encouraged to read, I know quite a few of my blogger friends or Bookstagram friends have said to me that they have read more because of buddy reading with me, or me going, you have to download this book, you have to read it, you have to buy this book, you have to read it. And that's always really nice. And people at book group have read different things because of me, and that's really cool. And like I say, you hope that you've inspired someone to read, but on the other side of it, I don't know if any of my former pupils would be like, yes, because you nagged us, miss. Or any of my friends would be like, yeah, it's because you nagged me. You kept buying me books, or you kept taking me to these signings and meeting these authors. But yeah, I really like that question. But yeah, any other teachers out there, is it inspiration or is it nagging? Is it the beautiful combination of inspiration and nagging that is your teacher voice? And describe what books mean to you in 5 words. I had to write this one down. So when Bethany did this one, I was kind of identifying with all of her words. One of her words that I definitely wanted to steal was community. I only got into buddy reads when I started blogging. I'd never kind of read with someone before necessarily. I'd read a book straight after someone else when they'd lent it to me, but reading a book at the same time as someone else, or talking about a book that everyone's buzzing about, that sense of community, amazing. So that's word number 1, and I stole that from Bethany, so all credit to her, but it's perfect. So then definitely joy, the joy of receiving a book, buying a book, opening a book, smelling a book, getting a book on hold from the library, a book landing on your Kindle, a book landing on your Audible, and then opening the book and reading it, and then getting to the end. All of that is just pure joy. So much joy, so much joy. Escapism. This is very much inspired by my page Toon read along at the minute. She does amazing travel stories in different countries. I've been to France and LA and Australia and different parts of the UK with her, and that's just over the course of 3 books. Like, this is so cool. Escapism, absolutely. Education. This not in like a, oh, I read such highbrow stuff, but I learn so much from the books that I read. I do read non-fiction as well as fiction, but I read stuff from read stuff in fiction, like Turtles All the Way Down. Like, let's see, is this the one that has it in it? Yeah, look at this guy here. Can you see there? I did not know what he was called, and I didn't know that he lived in a terrarium, and yeah, I found this out from reading this book. I found out about Strand Bookstore from reading Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. I found out about Max Brenner's chocolate place right by Strand Bookstore from reading I Heart New York. I found out about places in my local community by reading books set in Denver. Education is just amazing. Like, we learn so much from what we read. We learn also about, you know, other people's lives and communities. I wouldn't know what it was like being in Vietnam during the start of the war, and then I read that graphic memoir, and then I read about Julie Andrews and what it was like being a Brit in Hollywood during the time that she first came over here. Like, you know, education is so interesting, and I love learning new things. And then finally, this is a hyphenated one, but it still counts as my word number 5, and that is self-care. You are literally taking time out for yourself, whether it is that you put an audiobook on whilst doing something else. You are having some pleasure at the same time as getting something done that needs to be getting done, or whether it's you going, right, I'm gonna sit in this Starbucks with a coffee for an hour and read. That's you taking an hour out of your day for your self-care and doing that for yourself. And so books are very much about self-care for me, and I am more than happy going, right, okay, I'm going in that room and I'm closing the door and I'm having an hour to myself, and that's me, and I'm gonna get some education and some joy and some escapism whilst I'm in there. So those are my 5 words, and I had to write that one down. So I'm not going to tag anyone specific, but if you have done this tag already, or you do it after watching this video, let me know in the comments. I'd love to come and watch your video and leave you a comment in return. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, and if your answers are very, very different from mine, I want to hear what your answers to some of these questions would be, especially where readings fits on your to-do list as well. And yeah, teachers, let me know, is it inspiration, is it nagging? Make sure you are subscribed so that my next video lands in your subscription feed. I will be back with more joyful book videos for you very soon. Thank you so much for watching.